You are 17 years old, standing at the edge of a dry grassland that stretches farther than you can see. The sun has been up for less than an hour, and already it is pressing down on your shoulders like a hand. In front of you, a herd of antelope scatters across the plain, kicking up dust as they run. You are not chasing them for sport. If you do not catch one today, your family does not eat tonight. Here is the strange part: you have no bow. No spear that can be thrown far enough to matter. No trap set days in advance. You have your legs, your lungs, and something almost nobody talks about when they imagine ancient hunters. You have patience because you are not trying to be faster than the antelope. You already know you can't be. In a flat sprint, over a short distance, that animal will vanish from your sight in seconds. It is built for speed in a way your body simply is not. And yet, by the time the sun sets today, there is a real chance that antelope will be lying on the ground in front of you, and you will still be standing. This is where the real question begins. If a modern sprinter lined up next to a lion, they would lose instantly. If they lined up next to that same antelope, they would lose just as fast. Human beings are, by almost every measurable standard, slow, painfully slow, compared to almost every other creature we share the earth with. So how is it possible that a teenager with no weapon, no vehicle, and no advantage in raw speed could actually outlast and outrun some of the fastest animals in the world? And here's the question underneath. That question, the one that really matters today. If an ancient hunter like this could do something like that, using nothing but instinct and endurance passed down for generations, how would that same hunter compare to a modern athlete? Someone with proper shoes, sports science, professional coaching, and years of specialized training? Would the ancient hunter stand a chance? Or would modern training simply erase every advantage that ancient human ever had? You do not know any of that yet. Right now, all you know is the herd ahead of you, and the long day of running that is about to begin. You start moving, not in a sprint. In something closer to a steady jog, the kind of pace that feels almost lazy compared to how fast that antelope just disappeared over the ridge. Your older cousin taught you this method years ago, and it still feels wrong every single time you do it. Every instinct in your body wants to sprint after the herd the moment you see them. Every instinct is wrong. The antelope, meanwhile, is doing exactly what its body tells it to do too. It bolts at full speed, puts a huge amount of distance between you, and then, once it feels safe, it stops to rest. This is the mistake that will cost it everything, though it has no way of knowing that yet. Because you do not stop. You keep the same steady pace, the pace that barely raises your heart rate, the pace you could hold for hours if you had to. By the time you reach the spot where the antelope stopped to rest, it sees you again, and panics again, and sprints away again, putting distance between you once more. And once more it stops to catch its breath, because that explosive burst of speed costs an enormous amount of energy. Energy it now has to recover before it can do it again. You do not need to recover. That is the entire secret hiding inside your slow, steady jog. While the antelope's body is built for short bursts of incredible speed, followed by rest, your body is built for something almost the opposite: endurance. Hour after hour of steady movement without ever needing to fully stop. This pattern repeats itself again and again as the sun climbs higher. Sprint, rest, while you simply keep moving, closing the gap by a little more each time the antelope is forced to slow down and recover. The midday heat, which should be your enemy, is actually becoming your greatest weapon. Your body cools itself by sweating through skin covered in almost no fur. The antelope cannot do this nearly as efficiently. Its main way of cooling down is panting, and panting does not work nearly as well while running at full speed. Every hour that passes under this brutal sun, the gap between what your body can handle and what its body can handle grows a little wider. By mid-afternoon, something changes. The antelope's sprints are getting shorter. Its rest periods are getting longer. It is no longer fully recovering between bursts. And you can see it in the way it moves now, less explosive, more desperate. You, meanwhile, are tired, genuinely tired, sweat soaked through your skin, and your legs aching in a deep, steady way. But you are not desperate. You still have more to give, because you never spent your energy the way the antelope spent its. This method has a name passed down through your people, though nobody ever wrote it down anywhere. Your grandfather called it the long chase. It has no dramatic burst of speed, no single heroic sprint that decides everything in one moment. It is slow, it is patient, it is, in a strange way, almost boring to watch, and it works precisely because almost nothing in nature is built to handle a threat that simply never stops coming. As the light begins to change color, turning the grass a deep gold, you finally see the moment you have been waiting for all day. The antelope tries to sprint one more time, and its legs do not answer the way they used to. It stumbles, it slows, and for the first time since sunrise, it cannot put any real distance between you at all. This is the part that should make you stop and think. A creature built by evolution to be one of the fastest land animals on the planet has just been caught by a human being with no weapon, using nothing but a steady jog held patiently for hours under a brutal sun. If speed alone decided survival, this should be impossible. And yet here you are, closing the final distance, breathing hard but standing upright, while the fastest animal on this plain has nothing left to give. But here is the real question this raises, the one worth sitting with far beyond this single hunt. If a teenager with no equipment, no training program, and no scientific understanding of his own body could accomplish something like this, purely by trusting a method passed down from people before him, what would happen if you took that same raw human endurance and placed it against the most advanced runner the modern world has ever produced? Someone with cushioned shoes, perfectly measured hydration, a coach analyzing every stride, and years of specialized training built entirely around running fast. Would all of that modern advantage actually change the outcome? Or is there something buried in human biology itself, something both of these runners would share no matter how many centuries apart they lived, that matters far more than any shoe or stopwatch ever could? That is where this story goes next. Picture two runners standing at the edge of the same wide plain, though they are separated by thousands of years and could never actually meet. On one side, imagine the same young hunter from this morning, exhausted but proud, still catching his breath after the long chase. On the other side, imagine a modern marathon runner, someone who has spent years training specifically for distance, wearing shoes engineered down to the gram, following a nutrition plan built by scientists, guided by a coach who studies every part of human movement. If you line them up for a short sprint, the outcome would not even be close. The modern athlete, with proper training in explosive speed, specialized footwear, and a body conditioned specifically for short bursts of maximum effort, would win easily. This is not really a fair comparison, though, because the ancient hunter was never trying to be fast in short bursts. His entire skill was built around something completely different. Here's where it gets interesting. If you change the contest, if instead of a short sprint you asked both runners to move steadily for hours across open, brutally hot terrain, the gap between them would start to close in ways that might genuinely surprise you. This is because human beings, ancient or modern, share the exact same biological toolkit built by millions of years of evolution, long before either of these two runners was ever born. Almost no fur covering the skin, which allows heat to escape more efficiently than it can for nearly any other running animal on Earth. Millions of sweat glands spread across the entire body, cooling the skin constantly rather than relying only on panting. Long legs built with springy tendons that store and release energy with every stride, reducing how much raw muscle power is needed to keep moving. None of this changed in the few thousand years separating these two runners. Evolution does not update itself quickly enough to erase advantages built over millions of years just because someone invented cushioned running shoes. The modern runner does have real advantages, and it would be dishonest to pretend otherwise. Better shoes reduce the impact on joints with every single stride, which matters enormously over the length of a full day. Scientifically planned nutrition and hydration prevent the kind of sudden energy crashes that could end an ancient hunter's chase early if the timing of a hunt happened to go wrong. Structured training built around heart rate, recovery, and pacing allows a modern athlete to push closer to their absolute physical limit without breaking down. These are not small advantages. Over a long enough distance, they matter. Here's the part most people completely overlook when they imagine this kind of comparison. The ancient hunter was not running for a trophy, a medal, or a personal best time written down on a piece of paper. He was running because failure meant his family did not eat. That kind of pressure changes what a human body is capable of in ways that no training program can fully replicate. Fear, urgency, real consequences. These things unlock a different level of effort than even the most disciplined modern athlete typically needs to reach, because a modern athlete can always simply stop, rest, and try again another day. The ancient hunter often could not. There is also something else worth noticing, something almost poetic about how differently these two runners understand pain. For the modern athlete, discomfort during a long race is often something to push through mentally, something separate from the body's real survival, a battle fought mostly inside the head. For the ancient hunter, exhaustion was not a mental exercise or a personal challenge to overcome for the sake of self-improvement. It was simply the cost of staying alive. Something to be endured because the alternative was watching his family go hungry. Neither version of pain is easier than the other. They are simply different reasons for enduring the exact same suffering. So who actually wins this imagined contest, stretched out across a full day of brutal heat and open terrain? The honest answer is that it depends heavily on the exact conditions of the race. In extreme heat, over very long distances on rough, uneven ground, the ancient hunter's advantage might genuinely surprise a lot of people. His body was shaped by an entire lifetime of exactly this kind of challenge, with no other option available. On flatter courses with better footing, in more moderate temperatures, over shorter distances, the modern athlete's superior equipment and structured training would likely make the difference. Neither answer is universally true. The terrain, the weather, and the exact distance all decide who actually holds the advantage on any given day. But here is the final insight worth sitting with, the one that completely reframes this entire imagined race. This was never really a story about who would win. It was a story about what human beings, across thousands of years of separation, still fundamentally share. Strip away the shoes, strip away the coaching, strip away the sports science, the hydration packs, and the perfectly measured training plans. What remains underneath all of it is a body built by evolution to do something almost no other animal on the planet can do quite as well. Not to be the fastest, not even to be the strongest, but simply to keep going, hour after hour, long after most other creatures would have already given up. Modern life rarely asks anything close to that of us anymore. Food no longer requires an entire day of chasing across open plains under a punishing sun. Most challenges today are solved by other means entirely: a phone call, a car, a machine built to do the hard physical work instead of a human body. And yet the capacity is still there, quietly built into every single person walking around today, largely untested and mostly unused. So if you ever find yourself wondering whether an ancient human could really outrun a modern athlete, maybe that is not quite the right question to be asking in the first place. Maybe the more honest question is whether either of them was ever really running against the other at all, or whether they were both, across all that distance and all that time, simply running against the exact same thing, their own limits. And every single one of us, whether we ever notice it or not, is still built to do exactly the same.